warm welcome to all my dear friends and students. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Welcome to this data analysis and decision making 1 course under the NPTEL MOOC series. And as you know, this is a 60 class or lecture NPTEL MOOC series, which will go on for 12 weeks, that is total 30 hours, and each week we have 5 lectures, each being of half an hour, and we are in the 8th week, which is the 37th class. Now, if you remember, we were discussing about copula function, and that's and the mapping, which basically happens between any the CDF or any distribution and the univariate distribution case. Univariate means the discrete case or the continuous case, such that we do a one mapping and find out the actual values of x such that they can map onto the U space. So, I am using the words for the first time, but you will understand. So, what we have, if in a 2 dimensional case where we are plotting along the x axis the random variable x, consider that is only for the univariate case, and along the y axis, which I have the diagram which I have drawn in the 36th class, and along the y axis we are basically plotting both the PDF or the PMF as well as the CDF of that function. And then we also told that the main idea based on which we are doing it, such that we are able to map from the x plane to the u plane, x being the random variable which we want to find out, for which we want to find out the copula function, and u being the plane or the coordinate system for the uniform discrete case, or consider the uniform continuous case. The main fact why this can be done is because the CDF function is between 0 and 1, maximum value being 1. The CDF function is monotonically increasing, and all the properties of the probability distribution function or probability mass function holds for both the random variable x as well as for the random variable u. U being, again I am repeating, is the uniform continuous distribution case. Now, this idea can be also extended to the 3 dimension or 2 dimension, we have already said 3 dimension, 4 dimension and the higher dimension, such that if we have the multivariate case for p number of random variables, we can find out the corresponding discrete distribution or the continuous uniform distribution or the discrete uniform distribution, such that the mapping can be done. Now, for considering the 2 dimension, I will basically first show the diagram again, which I have drawn, I will again show it, and then basically go into the 3 dimension case, as it will be easy for you to appreciate. So, consider for the 2 dimension case. So, on the screen on the left hand side, the left plate, you have basically the random variable x, we are measuring x along the x direction, along the y direction, you are basically finding out the values of the PDF or the corresponding CDF. So, consider this is a PDF function, the continuous case. Now, the green line which I have drawn it very arbitrarily. So, the green line which I have drawn, we basically have the PDF values, and consider it looks like a normal for the time being. And the blue line which I have drawn, even though it may not be exact, but I am trying to convey the picture. So, that is the CDF value. So, one thing you notice, for the CDF value, the minimum value is 0 where the pointer is, and the maximum value obviously for the case would be 1. Now, one value here which I am drawn does not make sense. The actual value which I want to denote, which is hidden behind this arrow, is the 1 value, which means the PDF values, if you add them up, which gives the CDF, the maximum value is basically 1, because the sum of the probabilities. So, this is integration for the case, summation means integration. So, from the minimum value to the maximum value, or if you have the this would be true. Now, what you do is like this, you pick up a x value here, some x1, and its corresponding value is given for the PDF. Now, consider this is x 1, which means let me erase it. So, it will be easy. So, it will be from minimum to the x 1 value f of x dx. So, that would be the total area. Let me use this. This will be the total area. So, this is the total area or the sum of the probabilities. So, this is the case, and that would be mapped onto the uniform continuous case. So, if you want to map it, continuous f of u du from uniform, remember uniform continuous case is between standardized one being is between 0 and 1. So, the minimum value is 0, and this is the small value of u 1 which I want to have. So, I will have some. So, this uniform case would basically be sum u 1. This is the u 1 value, and the total CDF value, consider this is here, will be please use wait. Right. So, this is the blue part which is here, and this is the yellow part which is here. So, there is a 1-to-1 correspondence between the values of u 1 which is here and x 1 which is on this the actual for this univariate case, and you can find out the u 1 and then do the calculations for the copulars accordingly. In the 3-dimension case, what it becomes, I will try to draw it and show it to you. This is the multivariate case. You have x 1 being measured, x 2 being measured, and this is the f x 1 x 2 which is the PDF joint distribution. Along with that, you have capital F x 1 f x 2 which is the CDF value. So, if you pick up any two values x 1 x 2. So, in the third 3-dimension it will be some, let me use the red color. So, this is some distribution which is in the 3-dimension case, some value which will be here. So, now what we do is this has to be mapped. Now, I have the discrete case, this is u 1, u 2. Now, this will be in the continuous discrete case where u 1 u 2 are between 0 and 1, it will be a cube of dimension 1 cross 1 cross 1, maximum value 1. I am just drawing the cube first. . So, this would basically have some u1, some u2 and the value, the discrete case would be somewhere here, consider. So, what you are doing is you are mapping the value of these one x1, x2 and the corresponding CDF value which you have with u2, u1 and this, such that this will be possible. So, here double summation of the total area. So, it will be the double summation of f of u1, u2. Obviously, here dx1, dx2, du1, du2 will come. So, based on that you can find out the copulas as given. This is the idea which we have. So, obviously, it means that the CDF values is always has the same property for both the PDF, whatever the PDFs are. So, this I gave a blank screen if we needed to draw it. Anyway, now we will come to the copula concepts later on. So, this is the idea, we will use it in some problems. So, now we will consider the principal component analysis, which is a multivariate technique, ordination technique used to display patterns in multivariate data. So, we want to find out the components which are principal, based on which what is the maximum amount of information which we get, that is basically the idea. So, in the multivariate case, if there are different type of variables which have their effects, we want to basically break down the effects in such a way that we are able to in a simple way rank them from the maximum variability to the least variability, so that we can say with confidence. The word confidence I am using is not the confidence from the hypothesis testing. We can say with confidence, with lot of information being there, that which set of variables are important and what is the overall effect on the dependent structure of the set of information based on which we are trying to do the study. Now, principal component analysis aims to graphically display the relative. So, I will draw a small graph, or I have a small graph which will give the better picture of this principal component analysis, which is PCA. It basically aims to graphically display the relative positions of data points in fewer dimensions. That means, lower the number of variability, or such that we can have maximum amount of informations. So, in a fewer dimensions, while retaining as much as information possible, and also to explore the relationship between the dependent variables and whether the dependent variables can be placed in such a way that they are independent of each other. So, graphically when you are doing that, you will understand how it can be done considering the independent structure, and that is a very simple concept which you already all studied in class 10 or 12 in basic physics, basic mathematics, in basic concepts of sciences, such that the idea what we have there can be brought down conceptually on the graphical framework. I am not talking about the calculation front we will tackle it accordingly. Now, in principal component analysis, or PCA, is an hypothesis generating technique that is intended to describe the patterns in a data table rather than test the formal statistical hypothesis. So, using the data, we will find out, plot them on the graphical frame, try to find out what is the relationships and rank them from the maximum dependence to the minimum dependence, and we do not want to basically formally state the hypothesis as they are applicable. PCA assumes linear response of variables. So, obviously, we will have the relationship between the dependent and the independent variables. I should use the word of independent variables in the sense there are more than one variable. So, consider this x1, x2, x3 till xp, and you want to find out the relationship of each of them on the dependent structure. This is nothing to do with multiple linear regression. So, we want to basically find out what are the ranking sort of thing, that means maximum effect to the minimum effect. In regression, we gave a collective dependent structure between the x1, x2, x3 till xp, and the dependent one, which is y. So, PCA assumes linear responses of variables and has a range of applications other than data display, including multiple linear regression. It can be utilized, but it is a little bit different, and variable reduction, where you want to reduce the number of variables which are very important in order to basically understand what the dependent structure can be. The main purpose of PCA is to reduce the dimensionality. That means, if there are p number of variables which are being given, we want to find out that what are the minimum number of variables which gives us the maximum amount of dependent structure or the output. By the word output, I means the dependent structure. So, it is basically reduce the dimensionality of a multivariate data to make its structure clearer and find out their dependence concept. PCA basically does this by looking for the linear combination of the variables, like we want to combine the variables linearly. Combine the variables linearly means those x1 to xp which are there, we want to basically give them some weights such that the combination of them would give us the dependent structure stage by stage. That means, we want to basically give the maximum amount of information based on the first set of linear combination. So, once that linear combination is there, we try to gather or glean the maximum dependent structure, take it out, then the rest of the structure or the dependence, the information which is there, we basically propose a second set of linear structures between the same x1 to xp and continue doing it in such a way that we are able to glean the maximum amount of information, the dependent structure, point 1. And point number 2, when we are doing that, it basically formulate the linear combination between the independent variables in such a way that technically they are those sets are independent of each other. So, that is what I mentioned, that I will try to basically portray it graphically. So, you will understand in much better way. The method of PCA then goes on to look for a second combinations, those just what I mentioned. So, first one, once you find out the dependent structures or the combinations for the first stage, we glean out, take down information. In the next stage, out of the left amount of dependence, we find out the second combinations, which gives us the second ranking of the information structure. So, that is what is mentioned. It then goes on to look for a second combination uncorrelated with the first. So, once I am mentioning uncorrelated, basically means it is something to do with orthogonality in the graphical framework. So, that is why I mentioned that we would definitely would have done such small things in class 10, 11, 12, such that pictorially it will be very easy for us to basically have a look at how the principal component analysis looks at. So, it then goes on to look for a second combination uncorrelated with the first, which accounts for as much as the remaining variation as possible, and so on and so forth. If the greater part of the variation is accounted for by as small number of combinations of the random variables, independent random variables are, then they may be used in place of the original variables, and we are able to give the dependent structure with the least number of variables such that our overall task is reduced. So, what we are trying to do is that have a set of variables which are already given, combine each of them at stage by stage such that we give the minimum number of combinations which are each orthogonal to each other. Using that minimum number of combinations, we are able to give the maximum amount of information about the dependent structures of those x1 to xp and the dependent variable. That is all what we mean by principal component analysis. And again I am repeating, we will try to do the problems, the steps of the calculation in the way as I mentioned verbally, we will see that. But pictorially it will be easy for us to see that as we are doing the calculation, pictorially it will also give us a lot of confidence when we try to understand that how the combinations of the random variables x1 to xp are being done such they are independent of each other, means they are orthogonal on the graphical plane such this 1-to-1 correspondence between orthogonality in the graphical plane and the independence and uncorrelated structure in the calculations will come out very easily. So, the principal idea of the principal component analysis is basically to reduce the dimension of the actual matrix which is given, which is x, the matrix x n comma cross p, where n is the number of the readings. The readings will not decrease, remember that. What we are trying to reduce is p, and p are the number of variables which we have. So, here we have this matrix is broken down into vectors. So, these are all bold x 1 till xp, where x 1 bold is basically the first vector or the column, whichever you denote depending on what the nomenclature of trying to basically predict the matrix or portray the matrix it is. So, x suffix 1 is basically the first set of values for the first variables, and they are of size n cross 1, that means, is a column vector. Similarly, the last one would be x suffix p, which is also n cross 1, but here the random variables are for the pth one. So, obviously, we will have x 1, x 2, x 3. So, I am talking about the vectors capital X 1, capital X 2, capital X 3 till capital X p. Now, we want to find out the best combinations of them, which is basically combinations, that means, we want to combine them in such a way, so that they will give us the maximum information that required depending on the dependent structure. This reduction in dimension or dimensionality may be achieved using linear combinations. We are considering linear combinations of these random variables only, no non-linear combinations. Thus, in PCA one looks for linear combination aimed at creating the so called largest spread among the variables x 1 to x p stage by stage, such that we are able to find them in such a way that each combinations are orthogonal to each other stage by stage, such that the overall first set of information which I gleaned from the first combination can be kept aside, such that the effect of the first set onto the second or second to the first will always be of no significance, because they will be orthogonal. Similarly, when we take the second one, considering the first is already removed, we will place the second, place means place it in the dimensionality in the graph in such a way that it will be independent for the third also, the third combination of the set of x 1 to x p. So, if the first and second are orthogonal and second or third are orthogonal, we will ensure in the calculations that it will also be orthogonality would also be maintained between the first and the third. So, once we take out the third one, we basically go for the fourth combinations. So, if the set of combinations for x 1 to x p, which is the fourth combinations which we have, if it is orthogonal with the third, obviously it will be orthogonal to the second, it will be orthogonal to the first. So, we go step by step, and the variability would be maximum in the first case, would be a little bit reduced in the second combination, would be a little bit further reduced in the third combination, and go on in such a way that the cumulative effect which we want to find out for the combinations of these x 1 to x p can be found out in the least combinations, such that the dimensionality is reduced and the maximum set of information is gleaned or gathered as fast as possible. The concept of largest spread invariably leads us to look into linear combination which have the largest variance. So, the spreads being large means variability is large, spread being low means variability is low. As the reader may be aware, the concept of principal component analysis is performed on the covariance matrix. So, obviously, when we have x 1 to x p, remember that these x 1 to x p, the matrix which we have may not be independent of each other. So, the combinations we are formulating is made in such a way they are being forced to be orthogonal to each other. Hence, it is not scale invariant. So, the scaling would basically affect them, because if you reduce or increase one of them by unit of 2.5 and decrease one by unit of 0.5, obviously, this concept of scale invariance would not be true. So, as the units of measurements of x 1 or x 2 or x 3 or x 4 or x p may be different, such that their scale concept would be important when you are trying to basically do the PCA method. Hence, we generally we try to use the normalized PCA method, that means, we try to find out the normalized concept of PCA such that the units do not make any sense or units do not basically affect when we are trying to basically combine them in the first set, second set, so on and so forth. Because in that case, trying to find out the variability and then trying to find out the orthogonality would be much easier than in the case when they are non-normalized or not normalized. The main objective of PCA as mentioned above is to reduce the dimensionality or the dimension of the observations, and the simplest way to do that is to retain one of the variables xj and discard the rest. So, we will basically take randomly xjth one and discard x1 to xj minus 1 and also xj plus 1 to xp, such that the maximum the randomly, what the word randomly I am saying is that it would not be done randomly, it will have some logic. So, once we take out that random variable, we are able to basically take out at one go the first step the maximum set of informations which is available, and we continue doing it in such a way that we glean out step by step the maximum amount of information of dependent structure by the least number of variables. Though the idea may seem plausible, but is definitely not a reasonable approach, as the strength of the or the ability of the explanation is definitely not possible using any arbitrarily xj, that is what I mentioned. So, arbitrarily picking up any xj may not give us the best starting point based on which we want to find out the maximum variability and then go step by step as we try to basically find out the maximum variability coming out in the minimum number of such random variables. So, that may not be possible. So, there is an alternative plan. So, what is the alternative plan? And an alternative plan may be to consider the simple average, that means we find out these combinations of the variables x1, x2, x3 till xp in such a way that we find out some convex combinations of that. So, that is what we will come to that. So, an alternative plan may be to consider the simple average, that means we are giving weightages and consider there are p number of variables, obviously the weightages for each of them would be 1 by p, 1 by p. Obviously, it can change, but that will depend on what the variables you think have maximum amount of importance. So, such that simple average of all the elements in x1 to xp. So, x1 to xp are the vectors which I have just mentioned. So, I will just, I know that you have understood it, but still I will draw. So, this x1 basically means so this is n cross 1. So, but when we find out equal weightages, but this again is not without its drawback, as all the elements on x p n are considered to be of equal importance will not be true. So, the first is randomly picking up any xj's would not give us the best solution, given us equal weightages for to x1 to xp may not give us the equal solution. So, we will basically see it in the next class that how we can do it, this principal combinatorial analysis, considering the fact that our two main tasks are there, which I am repeating again. Number one, take the combinations in such a way that we are able to glean out maximum variability in the first case, then reduce variability, then next step reduce variability in the next second step, then third step, so on and so forth. Point 1, dimensionality is reduced, maximum amount of information is possible, and when we basically find the combination in such a way that the first set would be independent of the second set, that is orthogonal, second set would be independent of the third, that is orthogonal, but obviously we will ensure that first and third is also orthogonal. When we find out the fourth stage or combinations, it will be orthogonal to third, second, first, and we will continue doing this so that we are able to glean the maximum set of information. So, with this I will end this 37th lecture and continue discussion more about in 38th lecture and so on and so forth. Have a nice day and thank you very much.